unique topic. Now, before I get into that, let me explain my casual attire. I have been struggling with back problems and back spasms, so I'm actually wearing a jacket in the middle of beautiful weather to keep my back warm. So if I look like a goofball, I hopefully know what I'm talking about. So today we're going to talk about how to create a coaching culture from the ground up, from the bottom up, from the foundation of every organization. So let me make a couple quick points. When you look at organizations today and you look at the bulk of organizations, they are typically what? They are typically employees. You know, when you look at a company of 100 people, you probably about 80 are going to be individual contributors. The rest, maybe about 20% will be managers, supervisors, team leaders, or whatever your acronyms are. And one of the things that happens when you look at that fundamentally, you look at an organization, the more you go up, it thins out, right? In terms of the number of people. You don't have 20 presidents, you don't have 20 VPs if you have 100 employees. So I think we might have it wrong. We spend so much time and money in this triangle and hopefully things filter down. I think what we do is it ends up coming at the expense. It comes at the expense of the people in that lower layer, the individual contributors, not a bad lower layer, but just the foundation of the company. Now, let me make a second point. When you look at how people are developed, how we're trained, coached, mentored, whatever you want to use, when you look at that, we have to remember one thing. Most people, when they go through high school, most people, if they leave high school and go through college, let's call it 8, maybe even 10 years, we have not been formally trained on the following: how to seek and accept feedback, how to be a great teammate, why you as an employee need to own your attitude positively when you come into the doors of the company, why your personal motivation is your personal responsibility. And there's many others. I'll stop there. So what happens is when people enter the workforce and we're hiring people, we inherit, for lack of a better description, that lack of education. Not because they're bad people. It's just that we haven't been formally trained. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. It's one of my favorite people in the world. This is a team leader at one of our client sites on a manufacturing floor. And every single time she would get feedback, she'd have this trigger. Yeah, but. And I finally stopped her. And I said, I'm going to challenge you. She said, okay. I said, Emily, are you ready? And that's your real name. I have permission to do this. And she said, sure. I said, I don't want you to respond. I think I've shared this in some other Wednesday workshops. I said, I'm going to give you feedback. I'm going to leave the room. I give her some feedback. And when I left the room, I said, now, I want you to think about what you're going to do to successfully counter that perception professionally and thoughtfully. Not why you agree or disagree with it. So I leave the room. I said, I'll be back in 2 minutes. I came back like 15 minutes later. And what was so funny about it is when I came back, she was a calmer self. And I'm going to give you a great question. She's a calmer self. I said, what did you come up with specific to what you're going to do to alter that perception successfully and professionally? She started to answer it pretty well, I might add. And I looked at her and I said, and here's the question, everybody. What did you learn about yourself you're positively committed to doing? Notice my cadence of speech. She said, I need to listen. I said, so what do you think interrupts your ability to receive feedback? She said, I get really angry if I disagree with the feedback. So I said to her, I said, well, Emily, what's the goal of feedback? And she stopped and she said, what do you mean? I said, what's the goal of feedback? I don't understand the question. I said, what's the goal of feedback? She said, I guess I don't know. I said, okay, it's to build awareness where you have an opportunity to improve. If you agree or disagree with it is really inconsequential, because if you're going to probably disagree with most of it, right? Especially if it's on the constructive side of the equation. She said, yeah. I said, so what if I hypothetically, and this is not the case, told you people really don't like to work with you, but I'm conditioned, and I don't want to give her feedback because she pushes back every single time. And I just let things run their course. Do you think things would get better or worse? And she said, worse. And I said, so why do you think it's important? Why do you think it personally is important to seek and accept feedback? She said, well, probably to broaden my horizons, broaden my perception of how people see me, broaden my ability. And I said, so when you are working with people and you're getting feedback and you're in that moment, I want you to answer this as honestly as you can. What's going through your mind? And she said, I'm ready to counter it. I said, so in essence, you cut yourself off from perception. Doesn't mean feedback's always right. So if 10 people say, I don't like working with her, doesn't mean I agree with them, yet I owe you the candor. I owe you the feedback. So wouldn't it be great if employees sought feedback on their own, accepted feedback void of agreement or disagreement? Wouldn't it be great if employees arbitrarily acknowledged their teammates for the good things that they did? See, I think every single day we have interactions between people. We have interactions between people. And we have opinions galore about one another, don't we? Now, let me use a little humor. You ever gone to a water cooler and heard a positive rumor, such as, did you hear about the people in marketing? Oh, they really like their boss. I bet you some of you are laughing right now. So every single day, we have everyday interactions. What if we taught people how to coach one another, how to praise one another, how to create daily habits that infuse motivation and inspiration into the workplace, into the team setting between employees from the foundation of the company, not at the top, hoping it filters down? What if we pushed it upward? Let me give you another example. Years ago, I worked at a company, and I just talked to the CEO of this company. Just a matter of fact, about a month ago. His name was Ty, and we had a receptionist, and her name was Katie. Katie hated me. And I remember she went around to people in the company, and I was a consultant. I was putting coaching stuff in the company, and she went around, and a couple people came to me and said, oh, so-and-so's talking about you. And I said, she has the right to dislike me. She doesn't have to like me. Her employment doesn't require her to like me. It's not great to hear, but I can't force her to like me. So I did something, and I want you to hear this. We get into a staff meeting, and I look at her across the way, and I said, Katie, would you mind if I gave you some feedback? She gets up and she said, sure, go ahead. And she could battle. She could really, really battle. And I said, the plant manager at XYZ Corporation called and just praised the heck out of you. She was the receptionist. I'm not putting that job down. I'm giving you context to the everyday coach. And I looked at her and I said, I have to tell you, it is so nice to hear. I want to plant a seed with you, but I'd like to talk to you after the meeting. And she's kind of looking around because she's looking at the people she was talking to about me negatively. And here comes this nice guy saying nice things. She doesn't know what to do. Kindness is powerful. So we sit down and I said, I want you to think about something over the weekend. Now she's ready for the constructive stuff. That guy was fake in the meeting. I looked at her and I said, Katie, I think you'd be a heck of a salesperson. And her jaw just drops. I said, you are so quick on your feet, and in the world of manufacturing, there's not a lot of female sales reps, and that's a little sexist, but you can carry yourself and you can deal with that kind of the tough plant manager, which this company sold to. Here was the amazing thing, everybody. 15 plus years later, she's still in sales, doing well. And she actually is delightful. She's fun. I loved being around her. We became actually really good friends. We never once addressed her dislike for me. See, I think we have so many challenges when we get up in the morning, getting kids on the bus, giving them lunch money. They've got plans. They got a soccer game. They got a baseball game. Don't forget this weekend, honey, we got to do XYZ. We are constantly reacting to life, as corny and cliche and as over the top as that sounds. Yet what we don't give a lot of conscious thought to is positivity. Now, I'm recording this on Friday morning, And what I'm about to share is going to be a little bit jaded, a little bit cynical. In the last 72 hours, three different companies, three companies who do not know each other reached out to me and said, I've got a situation. I've got an employee who went for a promotion and didn't get it. And they're angry and they're starting to really manifest and, demonstrate some negative tendencies and behaviors. And I said, okay. And all three situations were almost identical. It was almost the same conversation. Again, all three companies, the three parties at the company don't know each other. And I said, it's really weird. And each person goes, what do you mean? I go, it's just weird. When one of our teammates goes in front of us, we tend not to celebrate and recognize and reward and acknowledge. We tend to cynically, sarcastically, negatively find ways they weren't deserving. And we hold it against them. They've done nothing wrong. They got a promotion. All three parties just sat there, HR people and training people, by the way, and looked at me and said, yeah, that's true. And I said, isn't it interesting? We have this knee-jerk reaction lately to constantly find out what's wrong. Now, let me further the point. All of you have heard me say this before. I need to see you in my office right away. What's the employee's first response? It's usually, what did I do wrong? Why? Because that's sometimes what we do. Yet, let's look at an organization. We tend to spend all the money up here at the top, and we tend to want to fuel this downwards. What if we inverted that and we took the top, being the foundation, the everyday employee, the everyday contributor, and we taught them positivity, why to acknowledge their teammates, how they can stand out from other people in the organization or other organizations. Let me further the point. I actually just did a presentation in front of a manufacturing firm. A lot of my people in my leadership academy at this one client are in an organization where we have some tough situations. We've got people from prison. We've got people who have GED high school degrees. We have very few people with college degrees, and that's okay. I'm not putting it down. What was so amazing is I sat in that room and I said, I'm going to give you a thought. And the first inclination you're going to have is I'm full of it. But I want you to let it marinate just for 5 minutes. And we're going to just sit here. If you come into work and you are positive and you acknowledge your teammates, you praise upper level management, as long as it's honest and authentic, you will differentiate yourself from 90% of the people in the workplace. Not just this workplace, every workplace. Now, that might sound jaded, and some of you might say, wait, that's not our culture, and that's great. I'm just telling you that most employees do not conscientiously enter the workplace, trained, coached, and mentored, ready to acknowledge, maintain positivity, invest in one another, look for the good things. They might do it, but they're not trained informally. It's not an innate habit. So let me give you further context of what I'm talking about. So as I've told a lot of you, I've coached volleyball, for 31 years on and off. After every single match, and I started our local high school program, I did it knowing, think about this, taking a job knowing you're going to lose a lot. First 2 years, I knew we were going to lose a lot. But after every match, I asked the guys, so who played well last night? I didn't care if we won or lost, because I wanted them to talk positively about each other. I have leaders who do the same thing today. So if Sally and Tom are having discord, you don't want to be overzealous, but a good leader would say, well, Tom, what did you like about Sally's idea? Now Sally's hearing Tom talk positively about her. Sally, what did you think about Tom's feedback? Well, I thought that's great. Thanks, Tom. See, we get very conditioned to create these little pockets inside companies, inside communities. Yet, what if every employee at your company was trained on positivity, coaching, acknowledgement, asking questions, praising teammates, rewarding those who get promoted ahead of them? What if every employee in your company was taught to seek and accept feedback? Wouldn't that take the top and pull them down into coaching conversations? See, what we've done here at Progress Coaching is we've developed a program called the Everyday Coach. I don't want to turn this into a big sales pitch. We'll put a link in there and just give you some information if you want it. Yet I am convinced we've got this wrong. I think we spend millions, if not billions of dollars at the top of the organization. We all hear it. I guarantee you've heard this at your company. Yeah, it'd be great to coach if I had time. There is a reason why people do not coach. They don't know what to do and they don't know what to say. So what we have to do more than anything is not just have that trajectory of coaching downward, we have to have it going upwards and sideways. Let me add further context. I just got off a call with a great healthcare company, and I said to them, have you thought about doing rotating peer-to-peer conversations? And one of the managers goes, oh, that's really cool. And we gave more specificity than what I'm giving you. And I said, you get people talking across departmental lines, the bricks of the silos start to fall off. When we're not communicating, the bricks will grow. And we got into this great conversation, and one of the managers goes, I'm fine if this requires us to do so, but does this require us to be present? I said, no. They're like, wow, this is really cool. You're accelerating talent development, accelerating communication, accelerating team cohesion, all with individual contributors, everyday employees, conversing, acknowledging, structuring conversations that are positive and influential. We don't do it enough. We tend to do what? Put the money at the top and say it needs to cascade down. Every training department I've ever worked for, every HR department I've ever worked for will always say this to me. It'd be great if upper level management was fully involved. Doesn't mean they're not involved. Sometimes they're fractionally involved. I still think the greatest organization I've ever worked for is a company here in Wisconsin where I am. And the company is by the name of InPro out in Muskego, Wisconsin. Phil Ziegler, who's the CEO, just retired. Mark Holland, who's the CEO, was really the one who brought me into the company. It's been 20 plus years, the greatest coaching organization I've seen. They'd be the first one to tell you, no, we're not, because they're always improving. They implemented coaching over 20 years ago. Certainly I helped. They got a director of coaching called Dave Stevens. They don't have high turnover. People are always trying to get in there to sell them or get a job there. They have a really strong brand recognition. They'll tell you it's because of coaching. I don't want you to tell you it's because of me, because it's not. And so what happened is they have invested. And I remember that Mark, now their CEO, said to me once, he goes, I think we need to train our salespeople how to coach. His idea, not mine. We got everyday salespeople learning coaching. If you go in that organization, a lot of their top leaders are disciples from that program that Mark put together because we're not formally trained. So again, think about everyday employees asking questions, praising one another, going above and beyond the call of duty, seeking and accepting feedback from people above them. How would that impact your organization? Let me know your thoughts. Put something down in the chat. This is not a big sales pitch, but I promise you, if you do not have a formal program in everyday employees, everyday investing in one another, you are losing an opportunity. So we're going to put the link in here. If you want information, great. But hopefully I gave you a different way to look at your leadership program. See, we tend to think leadership programs have everything to do with leaders, when in fact, leadership programs can be cultivated from the foundation of your organization with your everyday employees and individual contributors. Thanks for your time. Good luck, everybody.